Welcome to the Contrarians and to another episode of Battle of the Rock. Tonight, Black Sabbath, Technical Ecstasy is taking on Black Sabbath, Never Say Die. We want to hear from you in the chat. Let's do it. Welcome to the Contrarians, and tonight to another episode of Battle of the Rock. Tonight, I'm getting more excited every time I do that. Tonight, we are doing Black Sabbath. It's Black Sabbath week here in the Contrarians. Tonight, we're going to look at Technical Ecstasy, came out in 1976, versus Never Say Die, 1978. We are going to determine which album is better. We are each one in the panel. We got Brandon, we got John the Music Nut, we got West Coast Dave, we got Butch, we got Martin, we've got Rich. They are going to give us their synopsis real quick and their rating out of 10. We're going to see where we end up at the end. So we are going to start out with Technical Ecstasy. I'd go into it. For someone who doesn't know Black Sabbath, you know who that is. Jesus, I don't have to go into. All right, we are going to start out with Brandon. John the Music Nut, West Coast Dave, Butch, Martin. Well, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm going to do that because that's the way everybody's on my screen, and then Rich. All right. Brandon, sorry.
Awesome.
I'm on a tangent. You are up 4 minutes, my friend. Let's see it. Do it.
Well, I love this record. This is definitely where the cracks start to show for the band as they go into more commercial sound.
Are you saying this is the game?
There is some good bass on this. I will say that. Definitely the cocaine use is there. Everyone's kind of like, I feel like creatively, everyone's starting to go in different directions here. Ozzy seems a little tuned out. I feel like Tony did a lot of the songwriting duties here and cared a little too much about the production. Amazing. One of the best in Sabbath for sure. But I wish he kind of distributed his time over the songs and songwriting as well as the teamwork of this. Backstreet Kids, definitely one of my favorites. And people call this there's a lot of commercial elements to this record, but at least with Backstreet Kids, it's they're going more to their sound. I feel like this was kind of to get on that whole punk movement train that was going on at the time, especially with the lyrics of this, but still pretty great album. You Won't Change Me has a great doomy riff with some cool keys. One of my favorite Tony Iommi solos on this as well. Just love it to death. Maintaining your identity in a relationship maybe isn't what I want to hear in a Sabbath song, but still pretty cool regardless. It's all right. A pretty all right track, I think. Pretty good. Bill Ward thing seems a little bit like radio bait and a little generic for the band, but still pretty good regardless. Gypsy, an amazing samba style drum intro there, which you wouldn't really expect in a Sabbath track. Really fun lyrics, great Tony solo here. For me, Tony's guitar lead makes this track 100%. Really, really great stuff. Amazing guitar tone. Very dense song also on Gypsy. The amount of layers on this track is pretty impressive. And I love the mood shifts as well. All moving parts, pretty simple track for Sabbath. Awesome middle section. I love the loose and almost funky vibe on this one, especially on the keys. Ozzy almost sounds bored singing this track though, which makes sense because it seems like the kind of song he would just not be interested in. Rock and Roll Doctor, it seems a little bit generic. Seems like an AI generated rock song from the 70s. This song definitely goes off of a lot of tropes. Even the cowbell is there. So it seems like they just took every trope, put it on the table, and was let's just make a rock song with these elements. She's Gone, maybe the greatest ballad from Sabbath. I love the violin and cellos on this. They really help express the message. I'm pretty sure it's about Ozzy's divorce happening around the time. Still a great track. Dirty Women, one of the most famous songs on the record, played on their final tour. This one never really grabbed me, but I can still appreciate the riffs and everything. I'm pretty sure it was just about the prostitutes Ozzy was seeing in Miami, since he was doing a lot of partying during the recording and writing of that record. I love this album, but a lot of the commercial elements seem a little forced, and I wish there was more like just pure Sabbath on this. And they made songs that they liked instead of like maybe the radio might like this. For me, this is a solid 7 out of 10 record.
7 out of 10.
Nice.
Darn. An inspiration to us all. All right. Thank you, Brandon. All right. Let's throw it over to John, the music nut. Nice to see you, John.
All right. Nice to see everybody. I love Black Sabbath. I do not love this record. I've owned this album since I was in high school, which was many, many years ago. It's grown on me a little bit since then, but this is a tired band recording this album. They are still trying to become more creative, which they were doing since Vol 4. But more often than not, I don't think the songs really resonate. I like some of the songs, but they just sound tired. Backstreet Kids, I love the riff. I don't like the chorus at all. Ozzy's vocals throughout the album are decent. I don't think you're getting anything like the Rit from Sabotage on here. Nothing that's really jumping out on you at you as far as his vocals go. The bridge is okay, but the keyboards on this song and a lot of the other songs, I don't think they really gel. So this is a okay opener. You Won't Change Me, I love the beginning with those eerie keyboards, and I love those guitar chords that Tony's playing. But the song just drags to me. It's 6 minutes, but you're waiting for it to be over because it feels like it's a lot longer. And while I do admire that they're trying to do something more dramatic here I just don't think it works. It's all right. That's Bill Ward's song. As Brandon said, yeah, it's all right. His vocal doesn't really jump out at me. The band was always trying something different. Here they're trying to go 70s soft rock. I think this song is best left in the 70s. And it doesn't really sound like Sabbath at all. I mean, for all the other creative things that the band was doing, the genre jumping they were doing, they had something in those songs that remind you of Sabbath. This doesn't remind you of Sabbath. Gypsy, I love the way it starts with those tribal drums. I love Tony's guitar work. I love the end of the song. It sounds like a bunch of songs put together to me, and it just isn't cohesive. It has a bridge on it, but it's okay. It doesn't really jump out at me. The second side, I think, is the much stronger side. All moving parts stand still, kicks ass. Love the riffs on here. Love that counter bass line. Love Ozzy's vocal performance. I love the musical bridges on here. Those bridges kick ass. They are very, very strong. This is definitely one of the highlights of the album for me. Rock and Roll Doctor sounds like Savoy Brown, and I don't want Savoy Brown in my Black Sabbath. I'm listening to this song, and I'm waiting for him to go in to Tell Mama, and it just doesn't work for me. If I want to listen to Rock and Roll Doctor, I'm going to listen to Little Feat.
Hell yes.
So there you go.
Speak the gospel, John the Music Nut.
There you go. That's what I try to do. She's Gone. It's a prelude to what Ozzy would do on Revelation Mother Earth. I like this song. Again, it's more of a piano ballad, but I like where this is going. It is decent. Dirty Women, along with All Moving Parts Stand Still, are my favorite tracks on the album. I love Tony soloing on here. There is this great build into this main theme of the song at 3:15. I loved the performances by all the band members. There is a long outro on here that really picks up the pace and then slows it down to its main theme that works very well. It ends the album on a strong note. The keyboards on here, while I admire them trying to do more creative things, sometimes they work on, it depends on the song, how well they work or not. But this album isn't one of my favorites. It's definitely my least favorite of the first 8. I will say this, it's better than 13. I'll give it a 5 out of 10.
All right. Oh. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, he broke the end. Something. We better run for your lives. Yeah. What is happening? I don't think a Black Sabbath record that got a 5. Oh my goodness.
We're not
All
talking
right.
about Forbidden yet, so
I was just gonna say.
That was the
Like that.
timer. That was the timer. All right,
Hey.
here we go. All right, thank you, John the Music Nut. We'll see if Dave can set off the timer. Dave, you are up, my friend. Nice to see you back.
Okay, hello. So if you don't have this, you haven't heard the best version of this album. Because Steven Wilson remixed it, and it sounds way better. Geezer's there. Both of these albums, there are certain songs where you're like, where's a certain member of the band? They're missing. When I listen to Technical Ecstasy, I don't hear a lot of Geezer mostly. But if you listen to Steven Wilson's remix, you hear Geezer, and he comes back. And, there's plenty of excellent, beautifully done guitar solos on this album. It's obviously Tony Iommi's album, excuse me. The remix that Steven Wilson did, there's a lot of high definition separation of the instruments going on and articulation to the instruments, so you can just hear what's happening a whole lot better. So I'm just going to mention a couple songs here. You Won't Change Me. I think that's the most Sabbath sounding song on either album. This was originally called 622 from Paddington. By the way, when I bring things up, I might have read them in this book, this really nice book that comes. I might have read them in this Black Sabbath Oral History by Mike Stark. And if you're saying, but that's not a Martin Popoff book, don't worry. I got Martin Popoff books all over the place, man. I got lots of them. So
Thank you.
I'm not leaving you
There
out.
you go.
All right. So anyway, the song starts from just like an ambient space noise intro, which is pretty cool, and then it slams into this really heavy Iommic type descending riff. Real Sabbathy. There's a dark key sound that enhances the track. Lots more keyboards on this album than any other Sabbath album so far. When he says, "Nobody will change the way I feel," I think that combines a really great melody with really good lyrics and very passionate, really good guitar leads on that. It's all right. Where's Ozzy? Right? Where's Ozzy? And then Bill starts going, ooh. And you're kind of like, well, I like the song though. I do. I'm going to jump to All Moving Parts. This is a weird song. This was originally called Clarets on the Blanket, which is supposed to have something to do with a woman's menstrual cycle. That's according to Bill Ward. It's just odd. I tried to look through the lyrics and retitle the song. I just think All Moving Parts Stand Still is so weird. You could call it Very Strange based on one of the lyrics. I thought that was maybe even a little more apt. I don't know. Anyway, it's about a cross-dressing politician. That's what I read. There's a line in there where it says he gets his kicks from licking off the wine. What?
Oh, you know what that means, Dave. Come on. Don't you act like you don't know.
I'm supposed to know all the... Okay, I like choking toys. That is a lyric in this song. I like choking toys. What is that?
You know what that is.
I don't. I really don't.
I don't either, but I'm just...
So he says, later on the lyrics go, it said that he says he's a woman, and you're just kind of like, man, this. If you read the lyrics to this song, it's just going to leave you scratching your head going like, this doesn't make any sense. It's like an acid trip or something.
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it here.
Among others, right? So there's riffs all over the place on that song. It's real busy. I like the song. Now I'm going to go to She's Gone, which was originally called At Last Gerald. Another really, it kind of shows you they were kind of struggling to find ideas, It's not exactly Into the Void, At Last Gerald. Okay, but anyway, nice minor key, melancholy, gothic lyrics, the acoustic intro I really like. The lyrics are kind of pedestrian. Those are probably Ozzy's words. A lot of times when he's left to his own devices, Ozzy sings about how much some woman broke his heart. Not always, but oh, sorry guys. I was setting my timer there.
Sorry.
So there's lots of cascading, swelling strings on there. I think it kind of sounds like Orchid or Embryo, like one of Tony Iommi's little instrumental pieces, but with vocals added on top of it and some instrumentation behind it. And then Dirty Women has a really nice minor sounding sab riff to start it. Geezer's own lyrics this time, I don't think they're his best, just Dirty Women, they don't mess around. You probably could have come up with something a little more interesting than that. This song has a very weird arrangement. There's an ascending after the song goes on for a little while. Then there's an ascending guitar riff interlude that leads to the first guitar solo. Then there's another ascending riff again, and then at about 2:54 it goes into this Doors like fast gallivanting like dun 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 dun. Kind of sounds like the Doors, so they're moving in like a jazzier direction, which they would kind of explore more on the next album. And then the chorus doesn't even appear in the song until after 3 minutes. And then there's all these extended guitar breaks and with wah, lots of wah on this album. Kind of reminds me of Cream at the end of their like Tales of Brave Ulysses or White Room or something like that. And there's also in the Steven Wilson mix, there's backing vocals on Dirty Women that they brought up in the mix that you can hear a lot better. And I think it's a positive addition to the song. I give the album an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. You mentioned Dirty Women. You know who really wrote the lyrics to that?
I thought it was mostly
Gene Simmons. It was Gene Simmons.
I've never seen anything about that.
Well, the way you mentioned the lyrics, it sounded like a Gene Simmons song. All right. Thank you, Wes.
I don't know anything about Gene Simmons.
Yes, you do. And you know about that wine
doesn't know
thing. You
about
know
Gene
you do. All right. Thank you, West Coast Dave. We got an 8. We got a 7. We've got a 5. We're going to damn, words are hard. We're going to throw it over to Butch. Butch, nice to see you.
Good to see you guys.
Yeah.
Man, I've grown to really like this record. This used to be one of the, both of these actually used to be in my pay no mind to compartmental part of my mind. I would have loved to have been around. I mean, I was around in the 70s, but I wasn't listening to music. Like, I would have loved to have seen the reaction to these two records when they came out. I'm sure a lot of it was hot. This record, because it's like it really, Sabotage is maybe the heaviest record in the catalog, or damn close to it, and there's a considerable drop off of the heavy on this record. I'm not saying that as in this record's bad at all. It's very noticeable that it's not near as heavy as the 6 that preceded it. I like the record a lot. It like I said, it's really grown on me. Backstreet Kids is cool. It's not perfect. It kind of sounds almost like Sabbath writing a song like they're supposed to write. Like, it sounds kind of Sabbathy. It's maybe the closest thing to like heavy Sabbath you get on the record. My favorite songs on the record were always "You Won't Change Me," big dramatic ballad with some changes and stuff. This is a progressive record, man. They really tried some things on this record, and not that they didn't experiment before, but I think they really broadened what the band was about with this album, and maybe just didn't execute entirely properly in terms of spending a little bit more time on the writing, or the production could have been beefed up. I think. I mean, it's a little bit thin in the guitar department. It's not as heavy as it could be. But I love "You Won't Change Me." Gypsy is phenomenal. Love that. Love all the changing moods in it. Love the way it starts. All Moving Parts is really cool. I didn't care for that song in the past, but it really grew on me. I love that kind of Geezer's bass in there is almost kind of that bass part's funky against Iommi's the heavy riff in the song, which I think makes it a little bit different. It's All Right is okay. I like that song, but it sounds like it belongs on a Badfinger record or a Beatles album or something like that. It does, people have said, it just doesn't. It's not Sabbath at all, and it doesn't sound like them in any way. At least the rest of the songs, you can put a through line to Sabbath. That is just way out there. I think Rock and Roll Doctor sucks. It's the low point of the first 8 records, and it's not even close in terms of that. It's awful. This song is just I don't know, bad song. I don't even know who to describe it to, but it's a skipper for me. She's Gone is great, and I agree with John. I tell people that all the time about this song. If you listen to that Ozzy vocal line in there, is there's a direct line between that and Revelation. There's that classical kind of real dramatic kind of vibe in that. And so, John already brought it up, so there's no point in me belaboring that point, but great song. I love that about that song. I love the whole mood of it. And Dirty Women, I love, especially the change at the end when it goes into the heavy riff. I thought it was interesting too when the Helicopters covered this song. They were like, forget the first half of the song, and they just did the second half of the song and did the rocking part of it, which it's a great cover. But I love Dirty Women. I like the ups and downs, and then when it finally kicks in. I mean, like I said, overall for me, I like that they had the guts to try to do something different. I mean, I'm sure at the time it went over like a lead balloon, and I don't know. For me, in the past, I probably would have given it a 5 or a 6, but I'll give it an 8.
All right. All right, Butch. All right, 2 8s, a 7 and a 5. Let's see. Thank you very much. By the way, Butch, let's show over to Martin, get his views on this album. Martin, take it away.
All right. Well, you guys have all made some good points, and I'll spoiler alert: you've knocked me down a whole grade on this. So to my final grade. So I did get this as a new release, Butch, and yeah, I was pretty shocked at it. I wasn't crazy shocked at it. I was just like fairly disappointed, put it that way. Getting it. I love the album cover. I think the Hypnosis album art is great. I love the production on this album. I've always loved it. And I think it's probably the best of the first 8 when it comes to production. It's the low end on it. I would characterize as tough, as a Backstreet Kids kind of tough low end production. It's got that slight move up with the tightness on there. I've never really worried about can I hear Geezer or not? That's never crossed my mind. I just think the snare sound is amazing. The cymbals all sound great. I think Tony's in there pretty strong, or at least you are going to remember it that way, because when they kick into Backstreet Kids, it's just glorious, right? But I love your point, Butch, about how that song has always been vaguely unsatisfying to me. It's like a little bit paint by numbers. It's Thin Lizzy with Angel of Death. It's Led Zeppelin with Achilles' Last Stand. It's Aerosmith doing Kings and Queens. It just doesn't feel particularly in earnest, right? What they're doing. So yeah, that's always bothered me a little. The title always put me off. Backstreet Kids, it just does not sound like a Sabbath title, especially after bathing in the glory that is Sabotage, the greatest album ever made by anybody. I love You Won't Change Me. Absolute classic. I love your point again, Butch, about how they're trying so many different cool things in here. I love Jez Woodruff's keyboards throughout this album. It's all right, and She's Gone. This point just kind of hit me. Like, I have a knee-jerk reaction against ballads on albums, but some of them I really hate, and some of them I'm pretty fine with. Both of these, I thought I was fine with them, but the fact of the matter is, when I hear songs like this, it just feels like a waste of real estate. There's only 8 songs on here. There's not a lot of instrumentation. They're just quiet. And you're right. It's all right. Just does not sound like a Sabbath song. So it's got that going against it too, where it just sticks out like a sore thumb. All moving parts stand still. There are a lot of interesting parts in here, just like there are parts in Backstreet Kids, and we kind of forget that. There's a lot of really interesting things this band does in these songs. Rock and Roll Doctor kicks off with one of the great Tony Iommi Geronimo riffs. It's probably his key Geronimo riff that he ever did, and then they completely switch gears and go into, again, Butch, you caused me to knock this half a point is because of Rock and Roll Doctor, because I'm thinking, I was always okay with this song, but you really kind of like drove at home that I'm going through it in my head and going, yeah, this is really dumb for these guys to do, right? But it allows me to, when we have those arguments about is there blues in Black Sabbath, and I say absolutely not. That's why they invented heavy metal. They got rid of the blues. They just kicked it to the door. No British blues boom. But I always say there's 2 places I hear blues, 3 places. Sometimes in Tony's solos, Warning, which they didn't write, and Rock and Roll Doctor, right? But Gypsy and Dirty Women, I think, are absolute classics here as well. I love the proggy nature of them, just the oddness, the sense of melody, the getting heavier eventually, different parts in them, the weird beat in Gypsy. Those ones remind me of why I like Led Zeppelin Carousel Alhambra so much, right? It's just this oddball late track that is just this progressive classic that nobody really talks about. I think both Dirty Women and Gypsy are like that. So yeah, they are trying to be a little more commercial. And I think they do a good job of it. I don't think they absolutely pooch that concept. I think they move into this commercial space with some dignity. As we know on this tour, it's Boston that is going to take all the limelight, and on the second tour, it's Van Halen that's going to take all the limelight, right? So these two albums, an interesting thing about them is these two albums are when the phone stops ringing a little bit, or they lose their reputation a bit. They're not considered badasses anymore. They're considered a little bit also rans because punk is huge in England as well, right? That's driving everybody crazy. There are no punk albums till 77 in England, but punk is all the way through 1976. There's a lot of punk. And so they've got that to deal with. But yeah, everybody kind of just was, we don't need a new Black Sabbath album. We're kind of bored with this. They've been around for a while. They're just kind of overstaying their welcome. That was kind of the feel at the time. So I started before we started this show, I started at 9. I'm going to an 8.
8 seems to be the general trend. All right, except for John the Music Nut. John, I don't care. It's fine. All right, thank you, Martin. All right, Rich, let's hear it. What's your thoughts on this record?
Well, this was my introduction to Black Sabbath back in 1977, and it didn't really make me want to go back and listen to their other albums. It wasn't until I heard either Sabotage or We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, in which I became a big Black Sabbath fan. Never really liked the production on it. I think there's too much keyboards. The song titles are kind of different for Sabbath. They're more simple and just not as weird as their song titles in the past. I don't like the first song. I've never really liked Backstreet Kids very much. I think the keyboards kind of help ruin that song a little bit. I love You Won't Change Me. I think that's like the doomiest song on the album, and I love the lyrics, and Ozzy sounds great on it. It's all right. I've always thought that Bill Ward sounded like Barry Manilow on this. It's like, wow, Barry Manilow guested on a Black Sabbath album. I think it's a pretty cool song, and I like the solo, even though the solo for it and Ozzy singing throughout some of it made me think that these guys were a Spanish band. I don't know. But Gypsy, I like the drum intro by Bill Ward. I think that drum intro is fantastic, and I like the song pretty much too. All Moving Parts Stand Still is probably my favorite song on the album. Love Ozzy's singing. I love the vocal melody he has on the verses. I think it's one of his better ones. Rock and Roll Doctor, I actually like. It's a little bit simple for them, a little bit, basic rock and roll, but I think it's an enjoyable song. I quite like it. She's Gone. Ozzy sounds great on it, but I think the song tries too hard to be. It's almost like too sad and too beautiful. I don't know. But I think Ozzy's singing on it. It's great. And he's really good at singing these ballads. He has that kind of heart on his sleeve type emotional vocals. And he's really good at that. Dirty Woman, I never really liked that song very much. And I think the keyboards kind of are really dominant in the song. And I mean, it's okay, but it's just never been one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs. So I'm going to give it a 7.
7. All right.
Yeah.
You guys are all in the same ballpark, though. All right. We'll keep this dog moving. Let's tally this up. We've got a 7. We've got 2 7s. We've got 3 8s and a 5. We calculate this bad boy and we get a 7.1. If we round it up, it'll be we'll give it a 7.2. How's that?
Okay.
People surprised? People
what about the 10 you were going to give it, Grant?
Yeah, what's your
score,
Grant?
I would probably give it I like this. Okay. I would give it an 8 because I like this record quite a bit because I like it's kind of quirky. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah, I'll give it an 8. I like it. I can listen to this record all the time. I think it's good. So now we have a 7.3. Look at that. Okay. We got it to 7.3. All right, let's go to the next record. We'll keep doing what we're doing. We are going to 1978's Never Say Die. Brendan, what's your thoughts on this record in your rating out of 10?
All right. If the cracks were apparent on the last one, this is where it really just crumbled apart. Everyone's miserable. They're doing this in the freezing cold. Ozzy wants to do his own thing. The drugs are rampant. But really, this does feel like the band's final record, especially lyrically. They're reflecting on their past. They're talking about what they're going through. And I really love that. It adds so much weight to the songs on this. Definitely love the jazzy elements on this too. It just sucks the production wasn't better, especially for Sabbath's jazziest record. You'd want a good production, but it definitely holds it back for sure. Never Say Die has always been one of my favorite Sabbath tunes. It feels like the band going, "Hey, don't give up on us. You know, we got this," and which is kind of funny looking back at it. It's really interesting because it's the same chord progression of the Rebel, which is their 1969 demo. And if you listen to that song, you can find the same exact chord progression, but they just speed it up here. Maybe not the same exact note for note, but sounds like almost identical. So I guess maybe Tony's like looking back at old demos for this one. Johnny Blade, I love the marching beat with like menacing riff. You can really picture this guy walking through the city with this one. Ozzy has amazing vocal inflections on the song too. The ending solo makes me feel like it's a knife fight with all the bends and stuff. Something I really love about this record is it really paints like a picture, especially knowing like with Dave Walker and everything. You think this would be a mess, but lyrically love this album. Junior's Eyes, love the calm delivery paired with like the really more like intense one with the chorus. Hard Road, I love the Beatles-esque chorus. Again, looking back at Ozzy's roots, he said growing up, he wants to either be a plumber or a Beatle. So hearing something like this, it's like, it feels like they're the final record. Like they're going back to their roots. They're reflecting on things. And like Hard Road, about the road as well. Shockwave, again, like lyrically feels like the band going back to their roots, especially like talking about more mystical stuff, which is cool. Air Dance, absolutely love this one. One of the most underrated Sabbath tracks to date. I love the really dreamy piano paired with like the hypnotic drum beat. Again, pairs beautifully with the subject matter here. Love the jazzy outro of this track too. It feels like an evolved version of Sabbath's song structure where they take the doomy riff and then pair it with the groovy one. This feels like a much more evolved version of that, but with more of a jazz flavor in it. Over to You, my least favorite, but still a fun groove for sure. Breakout, Jazz Sabbath, which I think is a very welcome addition to this record. I know a lot of people look at this album and go, well, it's not, fucking their first one. It's not Paranoid, so it sucks. I feel like when it comes to this record, you kind of have to look at it like in a vacuum. I think they're amazing songwriters and very, very underrated, and are not just great metal musicians. They're great songwriters. And I think that really does show on this record. Swinging the Chain, love Bill's delivery on this one. One of my favorite like Sabbath riffs. I think the production really doesn't do this justice, but love this record. 8 out of 10.
Hey. Holy crap. All right, Brandon, thanks so much. All right.
So,
John the Music Man, you are up.
Okay. I like this album much more than Technical Ecstasy. We're still creative, but now they sound rejuvenated. They sound like the fire's back. If we're going to go out, we're going to go out on a high note. And the secret weapon is Don Airey. Don Airey's keyboards add the perfect touch to every song that he contributes to. Never Say Die is a song of perseverance. It just kicks ass. The pre-chorus on this is wonderful. The riffs on it are wonderful. The vocal breakdown before it picks back up the pace for the last verse is excellent. Fantastic song. Johnny Blade is not only my favorite song on the album, it's one of my 10 favorite Black Sabbath songs, period. I love that keyboard intro, and then when those drums kick in, and then you have one instrument kicking in after another with each bar, it is just wicked, and it takes you on a ride. This is killer. The keyboards add to the heaviness on this song. And then when they break down into that musical bridge and it gets a little more sludgy, it really kills. Then you got those great keyboard flourishes coming in while Bill Ward is throwing in those drum fills. Very, very strong. Again, one of my favorite Black Sabbath songs, Junior's Eyes, Listen to That Groove. That is Geezer and Bill. They are just locked in. Tony isn't playing riffs on here. He's just going for the mood of the song, adding the perfect amount of color. This kicks. Great bridge on this as well, but very, very heavy, even though it's not led by a riff, which was traditionally the way for Black Sabbath. Hard Road, Joyous Sabbath. This is like Good Time Black Sabbath, which you rarely heard with Black Sabbath. You might have saw positive lyrics, but it never really felt positive musically. Here it does. Again, we have a nice vocal bridge on this song. Excellent track. Shockwave. The riffs on here are wicked. And they are changing up the tempo now and then. Again, we got a cool bridge. The keyboards work very well on this as well, adding just the right amount of ambiance. Air Dance is beautiful because it starts with that Sabbath riff, and then those keyboard flourishes, those piano flourishes from Don add so much elegance to it. I think Ozzy does a great job on the vocal on this, and then when it goes into that long musical outro, it's, as Brandon said, it is very jazzy, very moving. All the members are playing for the song. It is an excellent song. It's the last time I'll say that about this record. Over to you. It's decent. It's got a nice, again, it's got a nice bridge. Keys and piano on here complement the song well. It's not the most memorable song. It's okay. Breakout, I like a lot. Now, we got Black Sabbath going free jazz, and I don't mind Ornette Coleman in my Black Sabbath because we got that nice riff, and then we got the horn section playing with that riff, and then you got all that great free jazz soloing there on the sax that works very well. Another thing, Grant, you love to talk about
100%.
Thank you. You like to talk about sequencing.
Yes, 100%. Very important.
This works perfect as the second to last track. If you put this in the middle or near the beginning, it doesn't work. It sticks out like a sore thumb. After we've heard all of these strong tracks, which more often on are quite eclectic, this makes sense. You don't end the album with this, but in this spot, it works. Swinging the Chain, now we're getting dirtier and heavier. We got a Bill Ward lead vocal on here. I like Bill Ward's vocal performance on this more than It's All Right. Very loose and dirty. We got harmonica playing on here, and I think it fits really well with the vibe on this track. Cool opener, but my favorite tracks are Johnny Blade, Junior's Eyes, Never Say Die, Air Dance. I give this an 8.
All right.
Nice.
Excellent. Very nice, John the Music Nut.
Thank you.
The passion on this panel so far for this record's a little bit overwhelmed. You guys are hitting out of the park. All right. Thank you. West Coast Dave, let's hear it. You're up, my friend.
Okay, Never Say Die, 1978. I'd say it's a jazzy album. It's kind of the Where's Ozzy album. In some ways, there's a lot of odd choices on this album. Iommi said that they wrote during the day and then recorded it at night, and they didn't really have time to edit themselves or stop to think, does this really work or not? And it kind of sounds like that to me. A lot of it's just kind of thrown together, and it's kind of a mess of ideas. Although there are a lot of songs that I like on it and moments that I like on it. Geezer and Ozzy were fighting a lot about the lyrics, and some of them are just head scratching to me too. I'm definitely like the lyric guy. A lot of people say I don't care about the lyrics. I'm definitely paying attention to what the lyrics are, and there's some weird stuff on here, like there was weird stuff on the last album. Ozzy didn't want to be there when they were making the album, and you can kind of tell. So Bill started giving more input. Ozzy in 1981 said, "I'm ashamed of that album. I think it's disgusting." And that's a quote I thought somebody else would bring up first, but just to share, I think Ozzy's stance over time has kind of softened a little bit on this album. But yeah, so Ozzy himself wasn't a fan. Okay, Never Say Die, like it. I'm into that one. Johnny Blade. It's kind of got a creepy horror movie keyboard intro that sounds like you're watching the movie Phantasm or kind of like Mr. Crowley. Metallica, of course, did it at Back to the Beginning. That was interesting. Bill Ward plays like only he would play on it, which is sort of this looping circular drum pattern to start it. And there's these like spidery synth lines that are going through it. I think Johnny Blade is supposed to be a spider or something. I'm not too sure about that, but it's kind of interesting. The song totally changes around the 2 minute and 30-second mark into more like a solid kind of Sabbath deal with there's a riff. There's an interlude where Ozzy's kind of stretching his range, and then there's some keyboard flourishes in there. And it almost sounds like Technical Ecstasy to me, like the name of the album. It's like they're getting more technical in the studio and they're trying stuff that's more complicated, more jazz inflected, and in a good way in the song, sort of. When he says "You fool the people," that part's really cool with the melody. The guitar solo is great. It's got a lot of reverb. Junior's Eyes to me is a great song. I'm going to give that song a 9 out of 10 for a Sabbath song. If you haven't listened to the Dave Walker version, you might want to check that out. It's good. I think it's good. Anyway, you can find that on YouTube if you want. So Junior's Eyes, I like how it starts out with just a groovy bass and drum intro, and it leaves a lot of open space for these kind of delayed minor chord guitar stabs with a wah. They've got a little delay on it, and it's leaving a lot of space for the lyrics, which is nice. And then the chorus starts, and Ozzy says they're coming home again tomorrow, and that melody is really good. I think Geezer has a lot bigger part in the song, and to me, that's always a good thing. I always want to hear more Geezer. There's a soulful kind of guitar solo where instead of just trying to rip it really fast with a wah like he usually does on this album, he is kind of going more for like a slow hand kind of deal. And then that goes back into the spiky verse really nicely. I like that a lot. The verse in the song reminds me a lot of a song by Jane's Addiction called Ted Just Admit It, because it's got like a loping bass beat. It's got sort of like these stabs of guitar that come in, and then it leaves a lot of space in the middle. Anyway, A Hard Road. I don't have a lot to say about that, but it was really been stuck in my head for the past couple of days. It just will not leave. Iommi did backing vocals on that song for the first time ever, and I guess Geezer couldn't stop laughing the whole time he was doing it. I thought that was kind of interesting. You could hear his Iommi's backing vocals towards the end, and then I also thought that song was sort of McCartney-esque. Somebody managed that. Shockwave, I tried so hard to talk about this song. I give up. Air Dance, all right. Majestic, multi-track opening. The riff gives way to these beautiful verses, and there's that delicate piano flourishes. I think it's like a jazzy, like it's like a minor 7 chord or something. I could be wrong about that. That's what it sounds like to me. I love how it ends with these multi-tracked reverse bends that kind of sound like somebody sighing or crying. It kind of goes, ear, ear, ear. That's a great sound. I really like that a lot. And then around 2 minutes and 40 seconds, Ozzy sings the line, Dance the Night Away, and then the whole rest of the song goes all instrumental after that. And in that part, there's some jazzy keyboard stuff, and interspersed with these guitar lines, the guitar leads, and it almost sounds like a Steven Wilson song for a while. It sounds really cool, and then it comes out of that, goes back into this like 2-chord vamp that sounds like the Doors again. It goes dun 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 dun. And that's like Sabbath getting jazzy. That was their little jazzy deal with the keyboards. They're just, I guess, to me, it sounds like they kind of were into the Doors. And even the guitar solo at the end of Air Dance sounds like the Doors. With maybe like a pitch shifter on or something like that, if you go back and listen to that. And there's no more singing in that song after about it's halfway over. It's just all these different instrumental parts, really interesting stuff. Breakout, I'm surprised you guys like it so much. It doesn't, the booklet on my CD, it calls it a standout cut. I'm like, what? And then it also said it was a live favorite. And so I looked it up. I'm like, they never played that live. And sure enough, at least Google says they never played it live. So I don't know what was going on.
Hey, we're trying to sell records, Dave. Shh.
Yeah, see?
Yes, they could have.
It's all about the business, see?
They could have
all
picked
about the
a different
presentation.
song there. This album's 45 minutes long. Did they have to put Breakout on there? It just doesn't make sense to me. And then I did want to talk about Swinging the Chain. Where's Ozzy? Okay, so you're up, Bill. For better or worse, there's odd choices in the song. I kind of like the harmonica. It's really strange. About 2 minutes and 30 seconds, he sings the line, "I wish you good luck." And he says, "I wish you," and then he screams. He just screeches. He goes, my God, wow, that's a really odd production and vocal choice right there. And they says
frustration.
And then he lets out another really strange scream. And it's just weird because I don't know what to expect from Bill Ward's vocals. And he's like, "Here I am." And it's sort of like, you're kind of weird, dude. But that's cool.
He recorded all of his vocals shirtless. You know that?
Probably.
Doesn't he do everything shirtless?
100%.
He probably did. So I think the plotting riffs and Swinging the Chain are cool, but that song needs to be torn apart and put back together. There is sort of an apocalyptic theme in the words that is like a very common Sabbath thing that's finally sort of resurfacing there. And then at the very end, Bill hits some high notes. He does okay. He's kind of like got this vocal fry, is really leaning into it. It sounds like he really cares, He's really into this whole opportunity to sing the song that Ozzy refused to sing. Ozzy also refused to sing on Breakout because he didn't like it. 6.5, guys.
6.5, ladies and gentlemen, from West Coast Dave. Thank you, Dave. Excellent. All right. Butch, you're up.
All right, you guys have made a lot of good points about this record already, actually. I'll start off by saying I do like this record a lot. Again, like I said earlier, it for years was in that space of it's not one I'm pulling for. I don't really care for it. For years, I only liked the first 3 songs on the record. And I don't know, I just never listened to it. It's one of those ones that as I got older and I'd listen to, after I've listened to Master Reality and Sabotage and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath like a gazillion times each, it's like you kind of want to break it up sometimes. So let me revisit this and see if I care more about it now. And I don't think it's surprising that a lot of people I know that are of my vintage have come around on this record, because I know when I was a kid, it was like, if it wasn't heavy, it was harder to get through from heavy bands, I wanted heavy. If I wanted to listen to something lighter, man, I don't know what to say. I think the first side is damn near perfect. Hard Road, being the exception to that, I like it, but I think after the first 3, which are killer, like Never Say Die, that pre-chorus is amazing. That's one of the best melodies, and I just love the melody line, the way it works there over the guitar, and I think it's killer. I've always liked Johnny Blade a lot. I love the beginning with the keys all over the place, and I love when Iommi's riff starts coming in there at the beginning of the song, and just a killer track. Ozzy's voice in that middle of the song when he's doing, "Well, you know that Johnny's a spider." He just sounds like so wicked on that. I just love that. And then Junior's Eyes, I love that song. I love the kind of like that whole moodiness of that verse and that super melodic chorus. That song is great. I think, like I said, those first 3, especially Johnny Blade and Junior's Eyes, have always loved them. Hard Road, I think, is okay. I think Shockwave is cool. That's one of those songs that kind of like grew on me over the years, and I especially love that freaking riff that comes in around the 240 mark on there. It's one of the heavier Iommi riffs on this record, and that's one of the things I like about this record. Not as opposed to Technical Ecstasy, but I think this album is a little bit more Sabbathy. That one was a little bit more, as experimental as this one is when it comes, you get to the jazzy stuff. I still think it's more Sabbathy in a lot of ways than Technical Ecstasy was. A lot more like Iommi riffs going on, that you maybe these riffs like taken in their spots. Like you could have seen the riff itself if they built different songs around some of them on earlier records. Love Air Dance, again, that's a song that I maybe I just had to be more mature or something to appreciate it more, instead of like wanting to listen to Master of Puppets and Rain and Blood and Sabotage and all Maiden and stuff like that when I was a kid. Like, I appreciate it a lot more. I appreciate the artistry of that song, and I think it's a gorgeous song. It's gone from being one that I didn't pay any attention to. It's definitely in my top like 15 Sabbath songs. Just a great piece of work. Over to You is kind of like a hard road for me. Those songs are kind of like almost the same kind of vibe to me. I like them both, but Breakout sounds like that's like soundtrack music for like a gritty cop flick or something like that. I could definitely see that being used somewhere in the 70s in Death Wish or one of those movies. Always like Swinging the Chain. Ward's voice, at the first time I heard it, I was thrown by Bill singing on it, but I like the riff when it starts in, and I especially love the change when it comes to the change in the song, when the whole "you gotta believe," just that riff underneath it is just so nasty and heavy. Overall, man, for a band that was literally like falling apart at the time they were putting this record together, I mean, Ozzy had gone, Dave Walker came, Ozzy was gone again by the time the tour was over. I mean, back and forth. I mean, this album is way better than it has a right to be, and I think it's probably the most underrated record in the catalog. I'll give it a solid 8.
Nice.
Wow. All right, Butch. I didn't see that coming. Look at you. Man.
I can
All right,
grow.
cool. You got it. All right, Martin, you're up. What's your thoughts?
Okay, so my thoughts on this, I'll speak straight to Butch first of all. Everybody else can just go do something else, but I'll give you my impression as a new release. So yeah, I grew up in Trail, BC in Canada, and my neighbor across the street was going down to Spokane, Washington. He used a trip to the orthodontist. I guess his orthodontist was there. I asked him to pick me up this because I knew it was brand new, and pick me up the Saints Eternally Yours, which was brand new at the same time as well. So I'm just waiting for that car to come back. Give me my records kind of thing, right? And I remember sort of thinking the production was very off-putting. It was very noisy. I liked it about as much as Technical Ecstasy. I can't say I have super strong loving it or hating it at the time. It was just more Sabbath. There's other things coming out that I might like a little more. So it was a little bit like that. But to go a little deeper into the production on this is what everybody complains about. I find this production a very Reinhold Mack Music Land sort of production. It's trashier, but similar to Sweet Give Us a Wink. To me, it's a little similar to Rainbow Rising. It's got a very brash, noisy mid-range. The cymbals are very distorted and annoying. The guitars are grungy. The keyboards, things are fighting with each other. And there just seems like there's a lot of noise and distortion all over the place. So but now I now really love that atmosphere to the album. I love the album cover. I love the new Black Sabbath logo with the little A's like that. Going through the tracks, Never Say Die was very strange to me when I first heard it. To me, it sounded like a punk song. As someone here said about Backstreet Kids, I really felt it about this one because that production was so trashy and punky. It sounded like bad, like the first Damned album kind of thing, or like the first Saints album or something, right? But yeah, the pre-chorus is amazing. It just gives it this really dark turn. It's really kind of sophisticated and cool. But yeah, I thought it was a brave song. I remember as a kid thinking that very first vocal melody from Ozzy just sounded pop to me, and I hated it. But then after that, the song kind of got dark again. Johnny Blade is one I really loved early on, but then started to not like so much because it is just so noisy and trashy. I like it now a fair bit. Still, but it was one of my favorites back then. Junior's Eyes, never liked it because it was sort of a ballad, but now I've learned to appreciate it a lot more. That chorus is just so good and passionate and heartfelt on it, right? Hard Road just like Butch, Hard Road and Over to You, I almost consider them the same song. For some reason, those are like the connective tissue or the anchors of this album. The sort of smeary wall of sound, just chordal songs in the middle of it with the the other things on the edges of the bike wheel sort of thing. But I really like those ones a lot more now these days. I just like the atmosphere that goes with that wall of sound thing and with all that distortion all together at the same time. To me, this is like one of the white knuckle Black Sabbath albums where it's just like they're hanging on for dear life, but they're able to create. So it's a little bit like Sabotage, but that's more for other reasons. Here, it's like we're just going on raw talent here, creativity. We like you. I think Butch, somebody said that the idea that they didn't have a lot of time. Maybe it was you, Brandon, was talking about how they didn't have a lot of time to think about all this stuff. And yeah, they're writing the songs in this freezing theater, and then they're recording it in another in a proper studio in Toronto. The same time Max Webster was recording Universal Juveniles, and those guys have talked about meeting the guys and everything, right? Now, getting over to side 2, Shockwave, one of my favorite Sabbath songs. I love it to death. It's so heavy and so cool. I just love everything about it. Air Dance, I never liked as a kid, nor Breakout, and now they're two of my favorite songs on here. Air Dance, I think, is really, really cool, brave, interesting. I talked about Over to You. Breakout, to me, I only like sax on Krautrock, and this is a total Krautrock song, and I'm fine with it. It's just so bizarre hearing Sabbath throw sax onto something like this. So now I really like it. Swingin' the Chain is my favorite song on the whole album, always has been. I love Bill Ward's vocal on here. It's got that heavy riff at the end that comes out of nowhere. It's kind of like a Dirty Women thing where it's got this apex part way at the end that's, that one. Love it to death and love the groove to it. So yeah, that one and Shockwave, I think, are easily the heavy songs on it because Johnny Blade's got too much atmosphere to it to be considered super heavy, right? So yeah, I think it really does come down to deliver the heavy Sabbath goods. You got to go to Shockwave and Swingin' the Chain on here. But yeah, I really quite like everything on here. Everything you guys have said so far hasn't knocked it down for the few spots. The It's All Right, the She's Gone, the little bit of Rock and Roll Doctor. Nothing even falls to those levels for me on this album. So I'm gonna go a 9 out of 10 on this one.
All right.
Not even the harmonica takes it down for you.
I love the harmonica too. That's fine too. Because
Pardo doesn't like harmonica.
But that's got roots back to the very beginning, right? Back to the first album and everything. So that was fine. I was okay with it for whatever reason. I was okay with it.
All right, cool, awesome. All right, Rich, what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, I don't love it as much as everybody else. I remember when this first came out, my oldest brother came home with this album and Rush Hemispheres. And we absolutely loved Hemispheres, especially side 2. And this album, we were really a little bit disappointed with. Never Say Die, I think, is a great song. I think it's a great lead-off track, and Ozzy sounds terrific on it. But for me, things start to go a little bit wrong with what I think is the weird synthesizer solo at the beginning of Johnny Blade. I remember me and my brother John looking at each other like, oh, this is kind of odd. I think the song gets better as it goes along, and Ozzy really shows off his vocal range in this quite good. He sings some really low notes and then he sings some really high notes. And that one lyric, "Rivals all across the land," for the longest time, to me, it sounded like "Rivals of a Custard Band," which I know,
it's the cocaine.
Yeah. This is one that could have benefited with a lyric sheet. Junior's Eyes, I think, is a really good song. I especially love the chorus and Ozzy's heart on his sleeve singing for it. I mean, to me, when this album works, I think it works because of Ozzy. I think he shows a lot of personality on it. To me, it's not surprising that he became such a star after he left. I just think he puts a lot of himself into the songs, and just a lot of character. Hard Road, I've always liked. And then side two to me is when the wheels start falling off a little bit. Shockwave, I've never been a big fan of, and I especially hate the ending with those oohs, which I think they could have completely done without. It just, yeah. Air Dance, I think, is okay. I think I've come to like it a little bit better over the years since I've mellowed out a little bit. I like the ending for it. And again, Ozzy sounds terrific. Over to You, I think it's a decent song. My favorite vocal part is the bridge. That's another emotional, heart on his sleeve performance from Ozzy, and I think it really elevates the song. To me, the last two songs is when it really goes bad. Breakout, never cared for it. I'm not a really big fan of saxophones, and I just don't. Yeah, never. One of my least favorite Sabbath songs, and then Swinging the Chain. That is probably my least favorite song done by the original lineup. The only nice thing I can say about it is probably the heaviest song on the album, but I hate the vocals. For the longest time, I didn't think it was Bill Ward. I still don't. I think they hired somebody off the street to come in and sing it. It's not Ozzy. For a long time, I thought maybe it was Dave Walker. But I don't care for the vocals on it. I just think it's the album ends really, really bad, and it's like, oh, okay. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5.
Okay, 6.5. All right. Well, thank you, Rich. Awesome. I'm going to give this an 8 as well. Though I've always been disappointed because I keep waiting for that freeform jazz record from Black Sabbath, and I've never gotten it because I wanted to see them keep going with that. Actually, it would be kind of interesting. Anyway, so I'm going to give it an 8 as well. Let's see what we've got. I think this is already faring better. This one, we've got a 7.7 compared to Technical Ecstasy with a 7.3. It's not that much different, but
pretty close.
Pretty close. So the winner tonight, Never Say Die. But both records fairly similar,
The viewers are all the winners.
Well, that's what we want to. Well, if we were live, we'd really know what the winner was.
It's kind of a shame that they didn't, continue to be experimental after this. I mean, every album,
freeform jazz.
After this is they just completely, got afraid of being experimental, and other than like maybe an acoustic guitar instrumental and synthesizer instrumentals, they never really diversified that much. They just became strictly a metal band after this.
But they made two of the greatest heavy metal records ever made.
Yeah, it's true. You're both right? I mean, I remember getting Heaven and Hell as a new release, and it's like these guys now are so canny and self-aware, and they understand the industry and they understand their role in the industry, but something's been lost, right? They're not crazy hippies anymore, right? But you're right. I mean, at the same time, they've got this amazing production and the song Heaven and Hell and Die Young and Neon Nights and all that, and Mob Rules. Everybody loves that too, right? So yeah, it's funny how you can both be right that they just become very commercial, accessible, amazing, efficient Black Sabbath. This is how that term I always use, right? This is Black Sabbath goes to the gym Black Sabbath at that point, right? Whereas in the old days, it's Black Sabbath does a bunch of drugs Black Sabbath, right? So,
well, there you go. On that note, let's end this dog. We do want to hear from you in the chat. What do you like? Which album is your album? Rate them both out of 10 for us and let us know what you think. If you'd like to be on these panels, we'd love to have you. We have a Patreon. If you would like to support the channel that way and you'd like to be on these panels, we would love to have you. If you don't want to support us via Patreon, we have a Ko-fi. Buy us a pint or a cup of coffee. We'd appreciate that. We're just here talking music. Hopefully this turned you on. If you weren't familiar with these two records, maybe you want to go out and check them out. Though probably our audience is probably very familiar with it, but you never know. Maybe you listened to this record and when it came out and you didn't pay attention. Go back and listen to it again. That's what it's about. It's all about the music, people. All right. I want to thank Brendan. I want to thank Johnny Music Net, West Coast Dave, Brian Martin, and Rich. And we will see you on the next one, everybody. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. We'll see you.
All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.
See you, fellas.
See ya.